Tyler Brooks stood in the crowded auction hall on Kepler 442b, watching the holographic displays cycle through various spacecraft. Most were beyond his budget. He had saved for 3 years, working double shifts hauling cargo across the frontier colonies, and today was finally the day he would own his own ship. No more working for others. No more splitting profits with companies that treated haulers like disposable tools. The auctioneer, a bored-looking human woman with a data pad, called out lot numbers in a monotone voice. Tyler barely paid attention until Lot 47 appeared on the screen. It was a Zenthari freighter, older model, but the hull looked intact. The starting bid was surprisingly low. Lot 47. Former corporate asset. Zenthari design, Class 3 freighter. Engines functional, life support operational. Sold as is. Starting bid 12,000 credits. Tyler's heart raced. That was within his range. He raised his hand. 12,000 to bidder 17, the auctioneer announced. No one else bid. Tyler waited, hardly breathing. The silence stretched out. Were the other bidders seeing something he missed? Maybe the ship had hidden damage. Maybe the engines were about to fail. But at this price, even with repairs, it was worth the risk. Going once. Going twice. Sold to bidder 17 for 12,000 credits. Tyler felt his legs go weak with relief. He owned a ship. After all these years of dreaming, planning, saving every credit, he finally had his own vessel. He completed the payment transfer and received the access codes. The ship was docked in Bay 32 of the orbital station above Kepler 442b. 2 hours later, Tyler stood at the airlock of his new ship. The hull was dark blue with silver markings in Zenthari script that he could not read. The design was sleek, more elegant than the boxy human freighters he was used to. He entered the access code and the airlock opened with a soft hiss. The interior smelled stale, like recycled air that had not been refreshed in weeks. Tyler walked through the corridors, his footsteps echoing in the empty spaces. The cockpit was impressive, with controls that seemed more advanced than he expected. The navigation system was in Zenthari, but he could get a translation module installed easily enough. He moved toward the cargo hold to assess the storage capacity. This was where he would make his money, hauling goods between colonies. The larger the hold, the more he could carry, the faster he could pay off his investment and start making real profit. Tyler opened the cargo hold door and stopped. His breath caught in his throat. The hold had been transformed. Someone had built walls, creating a small living space. There were blankets on the floor, food containers stacked in a corner, and children's drawings attached to the metal walls with adhesive strips. This was not just storage. Someone had been living here. "Please do not move," a voice said from the shadows. Tyler spun around. A Zenthari woman stepped forward, her blue-gray skin pale in the dim light. She was tall and thin, with a distinctive ridge along her forehead that marked her species. Her large dark eyes were filled with fear. Behind her, partially hidden, was a small child, maybe 6 or 7 years old in human terms. The child clutched the woman's leg, peering at Tyler with wide, frightened eyes. I own this ship," Tyler said, his mind racing. "I just bought it at auction." "I know," the woman said, her voice shaking. We hoped it would be scrapped. That we would have more time." Tyler looked around the makeshift living space again. These people had been hiding here, living in secret. "How long have you been here?" 5 weeks, the woman said. She pulled the child closer. "Please, I can explain. Just, do not call security yet." Tyler raised his hand slowly, showing he meant no threat. "I'm not calling anyone. Just tell me what is going on." The woman seemed to relax slightly, though her body remained tense, ready to protect her child. "My name is Lyra. This is my daughter Mira. My husband, he worked for the company that owned this ship. He died in a mining accident 6 weeks ago." "I am sorry," Tyler said quietly. Lyra continued, her words coming faster now. "The company said my husband had violated his contract. They said he owed them money for equipment damage. They seized everything. Our home, our savings, everything. They gave us 1 day to leave company housing. We had nowhere to go. No family on this world. No money for transport off-world." Tyler felt a cold anger building in his chest. He had heard stories like this before. The big corporations that ran the frontier colonies treated workers as expendable. When someone died, instead of providing death benefits, they often found ways to claim the worker owed them money. It was legal, technically, but it was cruel. "So you hid here?" Tyler asked. "My husband worked on this ship. I knew it well. I knew the company was going to auction it. I thought they would scrap it for parts. That process takes months. We could hide here and I could find work, save money, get us off this station. Lyra's voice broke. But they sold it whole. They sold it to you. Mira whispered something in Zenthari. Lyra stroked the child's hair gently and answered in the same language. The girl looked at Tyler with those huge, frightened eyes. Tyler ran a hand through his hair, thinking. This was his ship. He had every right to call station security. They would take Lyra and Mira away. He could have his cargo hold cleared out in an hour and start working. But where would security take them? Lyra had said she had no legal status on this world without her husband's work contract. They would put her in a refugee processing center. Those places were overcrowded, underfunded nightmares. And they would separate her from Mira. Children went to different facilities. He had seen news reports about those places. Tyler thought about his own mother. When his father had died in a shuttle accident, the transport company had tried to do the same thing. Claim his father owed them money. His mother had fought them for 2 years, working 3 jobs while Tyler was still in school. She had won eventually, but those years had been hard. Desperate. He remembered what it felt like to be afraid of losing everything. How old is Mira? Tyler asked. Lyra seemed surprised by the question. She is 7 standard years. Does she need anything? Medicine. Food. She has a respiratory condition, Lyra admitted carefully, as if afraid this information would be used against them. Nothing serious if she has her medication. But I ran out last week. I cannot buy more without a medical ID. Tyler made his decision. It was probably stupid. It would definitely complicate his life. But he could not turn them out. Not when he knew what would happen to them. Stay here, he said. I will be back in a few hours. Do not leave the ship. Do not let anyone see you. Lyra stared at him in disbelief. You are not calling security? No, Tyler said. But we need to figure this out. I need to think. Just stay hidden for now. He turned and walked back toward the airlock before Lyra could respond. Before he could change his mind. He had bought a ship, expecting to start a new life. Instead, he had found 2 refugees who needed help. Tyler did not know what he was going to do. But he knew he could not abandon them. Tyler walked through the crowded corridors of the station, his mind spinning with questions he did not have answers for. He had left Lyra and Mira on the ship with a promise to return, but now he needed information. He needed to understand exactly what would happen if he reported them to authorities. He found what he was looking for in the lower levels of the station. A small legal aid office run by a tired-looking human man named Pete who helped frontier workers with contract disputes. Tyler had used his services before when a shipping company tried to cheat him on payment. Tyler Brooks, Pete said, looking up from his desk. What brings you here? Another bad contract. No, this is different, Tyler said, sitting down across from him. I need to ask you something. Hypothetically. Pete leaned back in his chair and smiled slightly. Hypothetically. All right. What is your hypothetical question? If someone is on the station without legal status, what happens if they are found by security? Pete's smile faded. Depends. Are they human or alien? Alien. Zenthari. That makes it harder, Pete said, pulling up information on his data pad. Zenthari are not part of the human alliance. They have limited rights in human-controlled space. If security finds an undocumented Zenthari, they detain them immediately. They go to a refugee processing center while their case is reviewed. How long does that take? Tyler asked. Months. Sometimes years. The centers are completely full. There is a backlog of thousands of cases. Pete looked at Tyler carefully. This is not really hypothetical, is it? Tyler ignored the question. What about children? If a Zenthari has a child? Pete's expression darkened. Children are separated. Different facilities. The reasoning is that the adult facilities are not safe for children, but honestly, the children's facilities are not much better. Overcrowded, understaffed. Kids get lost in the system. Tyler felt sick. And after processing? What happens then? Best case, they get refugee status and can stay. Worst case, they get deported to a Zenthari world. But here is the problem. Most Zenthari refugees are fleeing Zenthari worlds because of war or poverty. Sending them back is basically a death sentence. The human government knows this, but they do it anyway. Easier than dealing with the problem. That is horrible, Tyler said quietly. That is frontier justice, Pete replied. The big corporations run everything out here. The government just enforces whatever keeps the corporations happy. Workers, especially alien workers, are disposable. He paused. Tyler, if you know someone in this situation, be very careful. Helping undocumented aliens is technically illegal. You could lose your ship license. You could face fines or even jail time. Tyler stood up. Thanks for the information. Tyler, Pete called after him. Whatever you are thinking about doing, think twice. I know you have a good heart, but the system will crush you if you try to fight it. Tyler left the office and walked toward the medical district of the station. He needed to get medication for Mira, but he could not use his own medical ID. That would create a record and records could be traced. He needed to find another way. In a small pharmacy near the docking bays, Tyler approached the counter. A young woman with short red hair looked up from her work. Her name tag said Sarah. I need medication for respiratory issues, Tyler said. For a child. Zenthary physiology. Sarah raised an eyebrow. I need a prescription and a medical ID for that. Tyler pulled out a credit chip and placed it on the counter. I am willing to pay extra. No questions asked. Sarah looked at the credit chip, then at Tyler. She lowered her voice. That kind of transaction could get me fired. I know, Tyler said. But a child needs medicine. She has been without it for a week. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. Then she picked up the credit chip and slipped it into her pocket. Wait here. She disappeared into the back room and returned 5 minutes later with a small medical container. This is a 3-month supply. Standard dosage for a Zenthary child. 1 dose every 12 hours. If there are side effects, bring her to the free clinic on level 7. They do not ask too many questions. Thank you, Tyler said sincerely. I did not see you today, Sarah said. And you did not get that from me. Tyler nodded and left the pharmacy. He made one more stop at a supply shop, where he bought food, water filtration tablets and other basic supplies. Then he returned to his ship. When he entered the cargo hold, Lyra and Mira were exactly where he had left them. Lyra stood up quickly, defensive and afraid. Mira remained sitting on the blankets, watching him with those large, dark eyes. I brought medicine, Tyler said, holding out the container. For Myra's respiratory condition. Lyra stared at the container as if it were a miracle. She took it carefully, her hands shaking. How did you get this? Medical supplies require identification. I found a way, Tyler said simply. He set down the bag of food and supplies. I also brought food and other things you might need. Lyra opened the medical container and immediately gave Mira a dose. The little girl swallowed the medicine without complaint, clearly used to the routine. Lyra sat down next to her daughter and pulled her close, relief visible on her face. Why are you doing this? Lyra asked. You do not know us. This is your ship. You could have called security the moment you found us. Tyler sat down on a storage crate, keeping his distance so they would not feel threatened. I went to a legal aid office today. I asked what would happen if security found you. And? Lyra asked, though her expression suggested she already knew the answer. They would separate you from Mira. Put you in different detention facilities. The process would take months, maybe years. And at the end, they would probably deport you to a Zenthary world. Lyra closed her eyes, her worst fears confirmed. Tyler continued. When I was young, my father died. He worked for a transport company. They tried to claim he owed them money just like what happened to your husband. My mother fought them while working 3 jobs to keep us fed. I remember what that felt like. Being afraid every day that we would lose everything. That we would have nowhere to go. I am sorry that happened to you, Lyra said softly. My mother won eventually, Tyler said. But it took 2 years. 2 years of struggle and fear. You do not have 2 years. Mira needs stability. She needs medicine. She needs safety. He took a deep breath. So I have decided. You can stay on the ship. Both of you. Lyra stared at him in shock. You cannot mean that. This is your ship. Your livelihood. If authorities find us, you will lose everything. Then we make sure they do not find you, Tyler said. I can take cargo runs. Legitimate work. You and Mira stay hidden during inspections and when we are docked. It will not be easy, but it is better than the alternative. Why would you risk this for us? Lyra asked, her voice breaking. We are strangers. We are not even the same species. Tyler thought about his answer carefully. Because someone has to. Because the corporations and the government will not help you. Because I have the power to do something and I choose to do it. Because it is the right thing. Mira whispered something in Zenthary. Lyra translated, tears in her eyes. She says you are kind. She wants to know your name. Tyler, he said looking at the little girl. My name is Tyler Brooks. Mira smiled shyly and repeated his name, her accent making it sound slightly different but recognizable. Tyler stood up. I need to register the ship officially and get my cargo license transferred. That will take a few days. While I am doing that, you both need to stay here and stay quiet. Can you do that? Yes, Lyra said. We are very good at staying quiet. One more thing, Tyler said, pausing at the door. I need to name the ship for the registration. I was thinking about calling it Second Chance. Because that is what we all have now. A second chance. Lyra smiled through her tears. That is a good name. Tyler left the cargo hold and headed to the ship's cockpit. He sat in the pilot's chair and looked out at the stars beyond the station. He had bought this ship to start a new life, to finally be independent and free. Instead, he had found two people who needed help desperately. Maybe this was not the life he had planned. But maybe it was the life he was meant to have. He pulled up the registration forms on the console and began typing. Ship name, Second Chance. Owner and captain, Tyler Brooks. He submitted the forms and leaned back in the chair. There was no going back now. He had made his choice. Whatever happened next, they would face it together. 3 days after Tyler made his decision, he was in the engine room trying to fix a problem with the power distribution system. The ship's engines were functional, but the power flow was uneven. Sometimes the lights would dim or the life support would surge unexpectedly. It was not dangerous yet, but it needed to be fixed before he could take paying cargo jobs. Tyler stared at the tangle of conduits and wiring, comparing what he saw to the Zen3 technical manual he had downloaded. The translation software was decent, but technical terms often came out confusing. He was about to try rewiring a junction when he heard a voice behind him. You are doing it wrong. Tyler turned to find Lyra standing in the doorway. She had stayed in the cargo hold for the past 3 days, barely speaking to him except to thank him for food or supplies. Now she stood there with her arms crossed, watching him work. What do you mean? Tyler asked. That junction, Lyra said, pointing. You are trying to balance the power flow manually. But this is a Zen3 ship. The system is designed to self-balance. You need to reset the distribution algorithm, not rewire the hardware. Tyler looked at the manual on his data pad, then back at the engine. How do you know that? Lyra stepped into the engine room. Because I was the engineer on this ship. For 3 years I maintained these engines. I know every system, every quirk, every modification. Tyler set down his tools. You never told me you were an engineer. You never asked, Lyra said quietly. And I did not know if I could trust you. But watching you struggle with a simple power distribution problem for 3 days. I cannot stay silent anymore. You will damage the engines if you continue like this. Show me, Tyler said, stepping aside. Lyra moved to the control panel and began entering commands. Her fingers moved quickly across the Zen3 interface, navigating menus that Tyler barely understood. Within minutes, the uneven humming of the engines smoothed out. The lights stopped flickering. There, Lyra said. The system needed to recalibrate after sitting dormant for weeks. Simple fix if you know what you are doing. Tyler was impressed. You really know this ship. I helped build it. Lyra ran her hand along one of the conduits almost affectionately. This was not always a cargo hauler. It was originally a survey ship. Fast, efficient, perfect for long-range exploration. The company bought it cheap and converted it for cargo transport. Tyler looked around the engine room with new appreciation. If you know the ship this well, I could use your help. I need to get the cargo license approved, and that requires a full systems inspection. If there are any problems, they will not approve it. Lyra hesitated. If I help you, I am risking exposure. Someone might recognize me. You can stay in the engine room during the inspection, Tyler said. I will tell the inspector I am the only crew. You just need to make sure everything is working perfectly so they have no reason to look too closely. Lyra considered this. All right. But there is something you should know. Something I have not told you. Tyler felt a knot of worry form in his stomach. What is it? This ship has modifications, Lyra said. Hidden ones. My husband made them without telling the company. What kind of modifications? Lyra walked to a panel in the wall and pressed a hidden switch. The panel slid open, revealing a compartment that did not appear on any of the ship's official schematics. Inside were storage spaces and what looked like enhanced power couplings. Smuggling compartments? Tyler asked. Yes. And the engines are more powerful than the official specifications. We can outrun most patrol ships if needed. Lyra closed the panel. My husband did work for people on the side. Dangerous people. He moved cargo for them. Cargo that was not exactly legal. Tyler felt his stomach drop. What kind of cargo? I do not know. He never told me details. He said it was better if I did not know. But he made good money. Enough to pay off our debts and save for Mira's future. Lyra's voice grew bitter. Then he died and those people came looking for their money. They said he owed them for a shipment that never arrived. The company seized our assets before I could pay them. These dangerous people, Tyler said carefully. Are they still looking for the money? I do not know, Lyra admitted. Maybe they have forgotten. Maybe they think the debt died with my husband. Or maybe they are still searching. Tyler sat down on a toolbox, processing this information. He had thought he was helping a widow and her child. Now he was learning that his ship might be a target for criminals. Is there anything else I should know? Any other surprises? Lyra met his eyes. The navigation computer has encrypted files that I cannot access. My husband protected them with a code I do not know. I tried to delete them but they are locked. I do not know what is in those files. Could it be the cargo information? Evidence of what he was transporting? Possibly, Lyra said. Or it could be something worse. I truly do not know. Tyler stood up and paced the small engine room. This was more complicated than he had expected. But Lyra and Mira were still in danger. And now, whether he liked it or not, he was involved. All right. Here is what we do. We get the ship certified and start taking legitimate cargo jobs. We keep a low profile. We hope those dangerous people have moved on to other concerns. And we do not touch those encrypted files unless we have no choice. You still want us to stay? Lyra asked, surprised. Even knowing this? Yes, Tyler said. Though I am starting to think I am either very brave or very stupid. Probably both, Lyra said, and for the first time she almost smiled. Over the next 2 weeks, Tyler and Lyra worked together to prepare the ship for inspection. Lyra's knowledge proved invaluable. She knew exactly which systems the inspectors would check and how to make everything appear perfect. She showed Tyler how to navigate the Zenthari controls, translating not just the words but the logic behind the ship's design. During this time, Mira slowly emerged from her shell. She began exploring the ship when Tyler was aboard, always staying close to her mother but showing curiosity about everything. She asked Tyler questions in broken human common language and he answered as best he could. She taught him words in Zenthari, laughing at his terrible pronunciation. The inspection went smoothly. The inspector, a bored human man who had clearly done this routine thousands of times, approved the ship without any problems. Tyler received his cargo license and immediately began looking for jobs. The first job was simple. Transport medical supplies from Kepler 442b to a mining colony 3 days away. The pay was modest but it was legitimate work. Tyler loaded the cargo himself while Lyra and Mira stayed hidden in their living space. Before departure, he went to the cargo hold to check on them. We will be traveling for 3 days, Tyler said. You can move around the ship freely once we are in deep space. No one will see us out there. Thank you, Lyra said. She had grown more comfortable around him over the past 2 weeks, but there was still a wariness in her eyes. Tyler, I want you to know. If those dangerous people do come looking, I will leave. I will not let Mira and I put you in danger. Let us hope it does not come to that, Tyler said. The 3-day journey went smoothly. Tyler piloted the ship while Lyra monitored the engines. During the long hours in deep space they talked. Tyler learned about Zenthari culture, about Lyra's life before everything fell apart. Lyra learned about Tyler's childhood, his years working for uncaring corporations, his dream of independence. Mira spent hours in the cockpit watching the stars. Tyler showed her how the navigation system worked, pointing out planets and stations on the star charts. She was fascinated by everything, asking endless questions with the curiosity of a child who had been confined for too long. They delivered the medical supplies on time. Tyler collected payment and immediately took another job. Then another. They fell into a routine. Tyler handled all contact with clients and station authorities. Lyra maintained the ship and stayed out of sight during docking procedures. Mira remained hidden but happy, her health improving with regular medication. For 6 weeks it worked perfectly. They were not exactly a crew but they were something. A strange little family held together by circumstance and necessity. Tyler began to feel like the ship really was a second chance, not just for Lyra and Mira but for himself too. Then, on a routine stop at a frontier trading post, Tyler overheard a conversation that made his blood run cold. 2 men were talking about a Zenthari ship with hidden modifications. They were looking for it. They said the previous owner had stolen something valuable and they wanted it back. They were talking about Tyler's ship. The dangerous people had not forgotten. They were still searching. And they were getting close. Tyler stood frozen in the trading post supply shop, pretending to examine a display of engine parts while listening to the 2 men talking at the counter. They were human, both wearing the kind of nondescript clothing that marked them as trying not to be noticed. But their conversation was anything but casual. "The ship has a Zenthari registration," one man said, his voice low. "Modified cargo hauler. Used to belong to a guy named Corvin. He worked for us, then got stupid and died in a mining accident." "You think the data is still on the ship?" the other man asked. "Has to be. We searched everywhere else. Corvin was smart enough to hide it where the company wouldn't find it during repossession. Probably buried deep in the ship's systems." "What about the widow?" "She disappeared. Probably on the ship when it got sold. The boss wants both. The data and the woman. She might know where her husband hid the access codes." Tyler's hands gripped the engine part he was holding so tightly his knuckles turned white. These were the dangerous people Lyra had mentioned. And they were not just looking for money. They wanted data. Evidence of something. And they wanted Lyra. "How do we find the ship?" the first man asked. "We're checking all the recent sales from that auction. Won't take long. Once we find it, we move fast. Before whoever bought it figures out what they have." Tyler set down the engine part carefully and walked out of the shop, forcing himself to move at a normal pace. His mind raced. He needed to get back to the ship immediately. They needed to leave the station before those men found them. He reached the docking bay and practically ran to his ship. The airlock opened and he rushed inside, sealing it behind him. He found Lyra in the engine room with Mira, who was drawing pictures on a data pad. "We have a problem," Tyler said, breathing hard. "A serious problem." Lyra stood up immediately, reading the fear in his face. "What happened?" "The people your husband worked for. They're here. On this station. I heard them talking. They're searching for this ship." Lyra's face went pale. She pulled Mira close. "We need to leave. Right now." "We can't," Tyler said. "I just docked. Station regulations require a 6-hour minimum stay before departure. If I leave early, it will flag us in the system. That will draw more attention." "Then what do we do?" Lyra asked, her voice shaking. Tyler paced the small engine room. "They mentioned data. They said your husband hid evidence of something on the ship. Evidence that could hurt powerful people. Do you know what they're talking about?" Lyra shook her head. "I told you my husband never shared details. But I know he was moving cargo from illegal mining operations. Maybe he kept records? Proof of what was being mined and where it was going. We need to access those encrypted files in the navigation computer," Tyler said. "We need to know what we're dealing with." "I tried," Lyra said. "The encryption is military grade. Without the access code, it would take years to break." Tyler thought for a moment. "Your husband. Did he have any special numbers? Dates that mattered to him? Anything he might use as a code?" Lyra's eyes widened. "Myra's birth date. He used it for everything. Even when I told him it was not secure." They rushed to the cockpit. Tyler pulled up the navigation computer's encrypted partition while Lyra entered date combinations. On the fourth try, the encryption unlocked. Files appeared on the screen, hundreds of them. Video logs, shipping manifests, geological surveys. Tyler opened the first video file. It showed a mining operation on an asteroid. The image quality was poor, clearly recorded secretly. But the content was damning. Workers in environment suits, many of them clearly underage based on their size, mining radioactive or without proper safety equipment. The timestamp showed this was recorded 8 months ago. "This is illegal on every level," Tyler said, his voice horrified. "Child labor, radiation exposure, no safety protocols. Who runs this operation?" Lyra opened another file. It was a shipping manifest with corporate logos. "The Garrett Mining Consortium. They're one of the biggest mining operations in this sector. They supply half the colonies out here. And they're using child slaves to do it," Tyler said, feeling sick. "Your husband documented everything. This is enough evidence to shut them down and put their executives in prison for decades." "That is why they want it so badly," Lyra said. "This data would destroy them. Cost them billions. They will do anything to get it back and silence anyone who knows about it." Mira tugged on her mother's sleeve and asked something in Zenthari. Lyra answered softly, trying to keep her voice calm, but Tyler could see the fear in both their faces. "We need to copy this data," Tyler said. "Store it somewhere safe. If something happens to the ship, at least the evidence survives." "And then what?" Lyra asked. "We cannot go to authorities here. The Garrett Consortium owns half the stations in this sector. The security forces work for them." Tyler was about to answer when his communication console beeped. A message from station control appeared on the screen. He read it and felt his stomach drop. "This is bad," he said. "What is it?" "Mandatory ship inspection. Scheduled for 3 days from now. All ships currently docked must submit to safety and security checks." Tyler looked at Lyra. "This isn't routine. They're looking for something. They're looking for us." Lyra sat down heavily. "The consortium must have connections in station administration. They've triggered a sweep to find the ship." 3 days, Tyler said. "We have 3 days to figure out what to do." Over the next several hours they discussed options. Every solution had problems. They could try to leave early and risk being flagged. They could stay and hope the inspection didn't find Lyra and Mira. They could try to delete the data and claim they knew nothing. But none of these options felt safe. That night, while Mira slept, Tyler and Lyra sat in the darkened cockpit, staring out at the station's lights. "I am sorry," Lyra said quietly. "I brought this danger to you. You should have turned us in that first day. Your life would be so much simpler." "Maybe," Tyler admitted. "But it wouldn't be right. You and Mira don't deserve what's happening to you. Those workers in the videos don't deserve what's being done to them. Sometimes the simple choice isn't the right choice." "You are a good man, Tyler Brooks," Lyra said. "Better than most humans I have met in this sector." "I'm just trying to do what's right," Tyler said. "My mother always told me that the measure of a person isn't what they do when it's easy. It's what they do when it's hard." Your mother was wise. They sat in silence for a while. Then Tyler sat up straight. "I have an idea. It's risky. But it might be our only chance." "Tell me," Lyra said. "I have a friend. Someone I served with in the Merchant Marine years ago. He works for the Interstellar Commerce Authority now. They're independent, not controlled by the consortiums. If we could get this evidence to him, he could trigger an investigation. The kind that even the Garrick Consortium couldn't stop." "But how do we get the evidence to him without being caught?" Lyra asked. "The moment we transmit data off this ship, the consortium will know. They monitor all communications." "We don't transmit," Tyler said. "We deliver it in person. My friend is stationed 3 systems away. We load legitimate cargo, tell the syndicate enforcers nothing is wrong, pass the inspection, and then run. Once we're in deep space, we jump to my friend's location." "They will chase us," Lyra said. "Probably. But you said this ship has enhanced engines. Can we outrun them?" Lyra thought about it. "If I push the engines to maximum, yes. We can outrun standard patrol ships. But it will be dangerous. The engines were not designed for sustained high-speed travel." "Can you do it?" Lyra looked at Tyler, then glanced back at the sleeping quarters where Mira rested. "For my daughter's future, I can do anything." "Then that's our plan," Tyler said. "We play it calm for 3 days. We let them inspect the ship. We hide you and Mira like we always do. And then we run." "And if they find us during the inspection?" Tyler's jaw tightened. "Then we fight. But let's hope it doesn't come to that." The next 3 days were the longest of Tyler's life. He went through his normal routines, loading cargo and filing flight plans, all while knowing that dangerous people were hunting them. Twice he saw men who might have been syndicate enforcers walking through the docking bay, checking ships. Each time, his heart raced, but they passed by without stopping. Lyra and Mira stayed hidden, barely making a sound. Tyler brought them food and water, trying to keep their spirits up. But he could see the fear growing in their eyes as the inspection day approached. On the morning of the 3rd day, station security arrived at the ship. Tyler greeted them calmly, showing them his cargo license and manifests. 3 inspectors came aboard, running scans and checking systems. They were thorough but not suspicious. Tyler stayed with them the entire time, answering questions and guiding them through the ship. They never found Lyra and Mira, hidden in a smuggling compartment that did not appear on any official schematics. After 2 hours, the inspection ended. The lead inspector stamped Tyler's clearance documents. "Everything looks good, Captain Brooks. Safe travels." Tyler waited until they were gone before allowing himself to breathe. He went to the hidden compartment and opened it. Lyra and Mira climbed out, cramped and frightened but safe. "It's time," Tyler said. "Let's get out of here." Tyler sat in the pilot's chair, his hands moving across the controls as the second chance prepared for departure. Behind him, Lyra monitored the engine systems, her fingers flying over the Zen-3 interface. Mira was strapped into a jump seat, clutching a small stuffed toy that Tyler had bought her weeks ago. "Docking clamps released," Tyler said. "Station control has cleared us for departure." "Engines at full power," Lyra confirmed. "Ready when you are." Tyler engaged the thrusters and the ship pulled away from the station smoothly. He kept his speed normal, following standard departure protocols. They needed to look like any other cargo hauler leaving for a routine job. Nothing suspicious. Nothing worth noticing. They were 10 minutes from the station when the communication console lit up with an incoming message. Tyler's heart sank when he saw it was a priority channel, the kind used by station security. Cargo ship second chance, this is station control. You are ordered to return to dock immediately for additional inspection. Tyler looked at Lyra. She had gone pale. This was it. The syndicate had figured out which ship was theirs. They were out of time. Station control, this is second chance. Can you clarify the reason for additional inspection? We just passed full security review 2 hours ago. There was a pause, then a different voice came through. Harder. More threatening. Second chance, stop playing games. We know what you have. Return to dock now and no one gets hurt. That was not station control. That was the syndicate speaking directly, using official channels they had obviously paid for or hacked into. Tyler made his decision in an instant. Lyra, give me everything the engines have. Now. If I push them too hard we risk a core breach, Lyra warned. If we go back to that station we risk a lot worse. Do it. Lyra's hands moved across the controls. The ship's engines roared to life with power that should not have been possible for a vessel this size. The second chance shot forward, acceleration pushing them back into their seats. Multiple ships launching from the station, Tyler said, watching his scanner. They are coming after us. How many? Lyra asked. 4. No, 5. All faster than standard patrol ships. The syndicate uses modified enforcement vessels, Lyra said, her voice tight with worry. They can match our speed. Tyler's mind raced. They could not outrun 5 ships, even with the enhanced engines. But he had learned something during his years as a cargo hauler. Speed was not everything. Sometimes the best way to win was not to run faster but to think smarter. How long until we can jump to faster than light? Tyler asked. At least 15 minutes, Lyra said. The jump drive needs time to charge after being dormant in dock. 15 minutes. Tyler watched the scanner as the 5 pursuit ships gained on them. They would catch up in less than 10 minutes. He needed a plan. Then he saw it. On the scanner, a debris field from an old mining operation. Thousands of small asteroids and metal fragments, spread across several thousand kilometers. It would be dangerous to navigate but it might give them the edge they needed. Hold on, Tyler said. We are going into that debris field. That is suicide, Lyra protested. At this speed, even a small impact could tear the hull apart. Trust me, Tyler said. I grew up flying through asteroid belts with my father. The big ships cannot follow us in there. They are too large, too slow to maneuver. Tyler angled the ship toward the debris field. Behind them, the pursuit ships maintained their course, closing the distance. Tyler could hear someone shouting threats over the communication channel, but he ignored it and focused on flying. They entered the debris field at full speed. Immediately, alarms started blaring. Proximity warnings lit up the console as asteroids and metal fragments whipped past the ship. Tyler's hands moved constantly on the controls, making tiny adjustments, dodging obstacles that appeared with almost no warning. They are not following us in, Lyra said, watching her own scanner. They are spreading out, trying to intercept us when we exit the field. Then we do not exit where they expect, Tyler said. He piloted the ship deeper into the debris field, then suddenly changed direction 90 degrees. The ship groaned with the stress, but the enhanced engines and Lyra's modifications held. Tyler threaded through gaps between asteroids that seemed impossibly small, using every bit of skill he had learned over years of difficult flying. Jump drive at 70%, Lyra announced. 5 more minutes. A proximity alarm shrieked. Tyler looked up to see a massive piece of metal debris directly in their path, too large to avoid. He had only seconds to react. Instead of trying to dodge, he fired the maneuvering thrusters to spin the ship. They rotated sideways, slipping through a gap he had not even known was there, the debris missing them by meters. Mira made a scared sound from her jump seat. Tyler spared a glance back at her. It is okay. We are going to make it. Jump drive at 90%, Lyra said. Her voice was steady but Tyler could hear the fear underneath. 3 minutes. Tyler continued weaving through the debris field. Behind them, he could see on the scanner that the pursuit ships were trying to predict their path, positioning themselves at different exit points. But Tyler had no intention of exiting where they expected. Lyra, can you calculate a jump that will take us directly from inside this debris field? That is extremely dangerous, Lyra said. The gravitational interference from all this mass could throw off our calculations. We might end up anywhere. Can you do it? Tyler pressed. Lyra was quiet for a moment, then her fingers began flying across the navigation console. Yes. But I need the exact coordinates for your friend's location. And I need them now. Tyler pulled up the coordinates from memory and transferred them to Lyra's console. She worked rapidly, adjusting calculations, compensating for the debris field's mass and gravitational pull. Jump drive at 100%, Lyra announced. Course calculated. But Tyler, I am only 60% confident this will work. 60% is better than 0, Tyler said. Which is what we have if we stay here. One of the pursuit ships had guessed their general direction. It was moving to intercept, firing warning shots that lit up space around them. They were out of time. Jump, Tyler ordered. Lyra engaged the faster-than-light drive. The universe seemed to twist and fold around them. The debris field vanished. The stars stretched into lines. For a moment that felt like forever and no time at all, they existed between places, traveling faster than light could follow. Then they dropped back into normal space. Tyler immediately checked their position. Where are we? Lyra studied her console, relief flooding her face. Exactly where we wanted to be. We are in the Kepler 186 system. Your friend's station should be directly ahead. Tyler allowed himself to breathe. They had made it. He opened a communication channel to the station ahead, using an old military code that his friend would recognize. Kepler Station, this is Tyler Brooks requesting emergency docking and immediate contact with Commander Greg Foster. Authorization code Phoenix 77 Delta. There was a brief pause, then a familiar voice came through. Tyler? Is that really you? What kind of trouble did you get yourself into this time? Tyler almost laughed with relief. Greg, I need your help. I have evidence of major corporate crimes. Child slavery, illegal mining operations, the works. But there are people trying to kill me for it. Come on in, Greg said immediately. I will have security waiting. No one will touch you here. Tyler piloted the ship toward the station. Behind him, Lyra slumped in her chair, exhausted. Mira unbuckled from her jump seat and ran to her mother. Lyra held her daughter tightly, whispering reassurances in Zenthari. The docking process took 20 minutes. When Tyler finally opened the airlock, Greg Foster was waiting with a full security team. He was a tall man with gray in his hair now, but still the same steady presence Tyler remembered from their merchant marine days. You look terrible, Greg said, clasping Tyler's hand. It has been a difficult few days, Tyler admitted. Greg looked past Tyler to where Lyra and Mira stood nervously in the ship's corridor. Your crew. My friends, Tyler corrected. They are in danger, Greg. They need protection. Refugee status. Legal documentation. Can you help? Greg studied Lyra and Mira for a moment, then nodded. The Interstellar Commerce Authority has programs for witnesses in dangerous situations. If the evidence you mentioned is as good as you say, we can offer full protection and legal status. It is good, Tyler assured him. Better than good. It will bring down the Garrett Mining Consortium. Greg's eyebrows rose. The Garrett Consortium? Tyler, you really know how to pick your enemies. He turned to his security team. Get these people somewhere safe. Full protection protocols. Over the next 3 hours, Tyler handed over all the evidence from the encrypted files. Greg and his team reviewed it with growing horror and anger. Video after video showed the brutal conditions, the child workers, the complete disregard for safety or human life. This is enough to trigger criminal investigations across 6 systems, Greg said finally. We will need all of you to testify eventually, but with this evidence, the consortium's executives will be arrested within days. What about Lyra and Mira? Tyler asked. Will they be safe? We will put them in witness protection immediately, Greg said. New identities if needed. Legal status in any human-controlled system they choose. They will be protected. Tyler felt relief wash over him. They had done it. They had escaped the syndicate and delivered the evidence. Lyra and Mira would be safe. But then Lyra spoke up. Commander Foster, I have a question. The Witness Protection Program. Does it require us to separate from Tyler? Greg looked surprised. Well, no. If you are working together as a crew, you can remain together. Why? Lyra looked at Tyler. Because we do not want to separate. Tyler saved our lives. He risked everything for us. If he will have us, we would like to stay as his crew. Tyler felt something warm expand in his chest. You want to stay? On the second chance. It is our home now, Lyra said simply. If you will have us. Mira tugged on Tyler's sleeve and said something in Zenthari. Lyra smiled. She says you are family now. Tyler knelt down to Myra's level. You are my family too. Both of you. He looked up at Lyra. I would be honored to have you as my crew. Officially. 2 weeks later, after all the legal documentation was processed, Tyler stood in a registration office with Lyra and Mira. The official behind the desk stamped their crew registration papers. Congratulations, Captain Brooks. Your ship's second chance is now registered with a 3-person crew. You, Lyra Ventress as chief engineer, and Mira Ventress as apprentice crew member. The official smiled. That is an unusual crew configuration, but everything is in order. They left the office together. The second chance waited in the docking bay, ready for their next journey. Tyler looked at his strange little family and felt something he had not felt in years. Complete happiness. Where should we go? Tyler asked. Anywhere, Lyra said. As long as we go together. They boarded the ship and Tyler settled into the pilot's chair. Lyra took her position at the engineering console. Mira sat in her jump seat, ready for adventure. Tyler engaged the engines and the second chance lifted away from the station, heading out into the vast ocean of stars. He had bought a ship looking for independence and a new start. Instead, he had found something infinitely more valuable. He had found a family. He had found a home. Not a place but people. People who trusted each other, protected each other, and faced the universe together. The stars stretched out before them, full of infinite possibilities. And Tyler Brooks, with his unlikely crew, was ready for all of them.